Wardogs, another tactical FPS expected later this year, just released a gameplay trailer, but more importantly, a bunch of footage from actual gameplay where the devs were playing the game. And I gotta say, what I'm seeing actually looks kind of fun and unique in its own way. So let's break down some of the footage we got this past weekend from Wardogs. But if you're new, hit the subscribe button, leave a like, drop a comment down below. Are you excited for this release? Is this another game on your radar? Or of course, you can join my Discord. And if you want to support the channel even further, you can hit the join button below the video player to become a member here on YouTube. Now, regardless of what genre you're into with regards to video games, there's been a lot of different trailers and stuff like that releasing lately, especially with Summer Game Fest. A lot of times gameplay trailers are edited together or they're set up in a way to provide some cinematic value. But I'll give Bulkhead kudos because what I'm more excited about is the fact that they released about 30 some odd minutes of actual gameplay footage of the devs playing the game. And I think that's really significant these days because you don't always get this much of a look this far in advance of the game release. Now, the first thing to establish is that this is not meant to be a battle royale or an extraction shooter. Wardogs is going to feature 100-player battles split across 3 different teams, all fighting for control over zones. Your characters in game are going to earn money, which allows you to buy better equipment, vehicles, and so on to help you in the fight along with your team. Now, at first glance, I got the impression of Battlefield mixed with elements of Squad. Those are on different ends of a spectrum between arcade and tactical shooter, and I feel like this game definitely fits somewhere in the middle, similar to how Hell Let Loose fits in the middle of that spectrum as well. Now, in making my own judgment as to where it fits on that spectrum, you do have your mini-map down in the bottom left, you do have a kill feed, and of course you do get confirmation on kills by killing because you do see the monetary value for that. Also, the blood splatter is pretty present, and one thing that you may not notice just yet, but you will notice later, is that there is a kill camera, which indicates where you got shot from. I don't see any sort of stamina bar, and the pace of the game seems pretty quick in comparison to some games like Squad. I'm not entirely sure how big the map is, but the visual fidelity does look nice, especially reflections, shadows, and all that, and it appears to be loading pretty well, and frankly playing pretty well from what I can tell. But of course, I don't have any sort of data to tell you systems, hardware, and all that stuff. It does appear that there is an inventory management system happening in-game as well, something you don't often see games like this, especially if they're not that extraction shooter or battle royale. But if you took some of these clips out of context, it'd be easy to see between the cash system, the inventory system, how some players might be like, oh, this is the next extraction shooter. But of course, it's a system we typically associate with those genres that implement into this, and it's something that a lot of folks have asked for in games like Squad, being able to take enemy gear or an enemy vehicle, or maybe just ammo off an enemy along with their weapon, especially when you're running low. Another thing I'm really interested to get my hands on would be the base building, because I'm curious to see how robust this is. I mean, it does look like you can build forward operating bases and set up a position to defend. What I'm curious about too is dividing the teams up the way they are into those 3 separate groups is when you only have about 30 or so members for that specific team, how does that affect the distribution of players elsewhere? Because it does seem like you can have emplacements or mortars and things like that in those forward operating bases to help you out, but then that means a portion of your team is sort of static. I imagine you try to put this into a control zone to earn what you need or build up points, but then at the same time, you don't have as many people floating around outside of those walls. Does that negatively affect your team? Do you have to be very mindful of that? And how does that play out over the course of a round? Now, it does seem like there are some suppression elements included in the game. It also is clear that there's some form of artillery or mortars actually available to be utilized because it does hit a player that is dragging a body for a revive. Something that's not quite clear to me is just the scale of the map. I mean, from this view, following the helicopter, you do have plenty of room to maneuver. That's pretty important, especially when you incorporate things like helicopters and stingers, or the capability of locking on to a helicopter, because if you don't have a lot of room, you just don't have a lot of places to send that helicopter to get away from those lock-ons. And that's been something with Battlefield 6 that I think has been kind of talked about, is just the scale of the map seem really small, especially for the variety of vehicles you can get. For Wardogs, I'm not sure if they intend to release just one map at the release of the game, or if they have multiple maps, or at least sectors of the same map that you play within. There's also an aspect of being able to move troops and actually feel effective. I'm not sure if there's going to be some form of rally system or the ability to respawn in different positions, but what I think is neat is being able to see these little birds fly in a group of soldiers and they can start moving from there. When you start incorporating that, it gives players more of a sandbox feel and the ability to kind of attack or defend in a way that they want to. I think a lot of players tend to enjoy that. The more room you give them and the more ability they can kind of shape their experience, the more valuable the gameplay becomes for them. And even in this very limited view, you can see how the devs are utilizing different tools to maneuver across the map in a way they choose. From what I've seen, it's not entirely clear how quickly you can build up and be able to maneuver, so you may have to work your way up, which then builds up investment of the players not only in that round, but in the game generally. One of the concerns I had early on for new players coming to Wardogs would be that after a while, when you have all these veteran players with all this money and this capability, how intimidating is that? What's the barrier to entry to get to a point where you don't feel overwhelmed by those folks that just have a bunch of cash? Because I know there is a level of persistence to the money or the monetary value you build up over time, and you can carry on with you. Now, obviously, we don't know how Wardogs is necessarily going to perform upon release, but I will say that I do think this has a really cool piece of several different genres all intertwined into one game. Like we've talked about, there's elements of it that remind you of an extraction shooter. There's elements of it that you're going to remind you of Battlefield or just your FPS game. There's also more tac sim type of elements, though loose, right? You have base building, which means you could potentially have base raiding. I don't know about you guys, but there are times where I play a battle royale and I want some of the functionality that are in battle royales or in an extraction shooter implemented into your FPS server-based game. And I think so far that's one of the more intriguing things about what I'm seeing from Wardogs. One big question right now across a lot of different games, especially with high fidelity worlds, is performance. And it's worth mentioning that they've been running playtests, and apparently players have been telling them that the performance and optimization has exceeded expectations. And as a result of the feedback received from playtesters, they intend to move forward their early access release date to sometime later this summer. Now, it's my understanding that this game is built in Unreal 5, and we know the recent games have had some struggles with development in that engine, and at least making it a performant game. Now, something else worth noting is that Bulkhead has talked about not really spending any marketing dollars until this gameplay reveal. And there is a risk associated with that. I mean, we've seen a lot of games release or at least show off footage that just doesn't really resonate with players these days, and it's easy to end up in a situation where your release is sort of bogged down in bad reviews because of things like bad performance in Unreal 5 or whatever engine, and so on. So I think that is a refreshing take, and I think it also indicates some confidence in the fact that they feel like the game is in a reasonable spot to be able to get it into an early access release sooner than later. So we'll have to see how performance actually does pan out. Hopefully there will be some playtesting this summer or something like that to get it across more hardware systems. But again, hearing that playtesters have been genuinely interested and excited about how it's playing is a nice thing. I'm going to have to do more research because I feel like there's plenty of nuance here based on how sophisticated the game already looks that I'm missing, that I'm just not familiar with because I haven't entirely kept up with all things related to development. I mean, this game just kind of got introduced to my radar not too long ago in the last couple of months. And frankly, I thought I was going to have a little more time because I didn't think this was going to be something released prior to the fall. Now, typically with a gameplay trailer, I'm going to tell you to take it with a grain of salt. It's going to look good, it's going to be cinematic, and it's to drive attention to the game. But when you have 35 minutes of footage from the devs playing the game that doesn't seem overly edited with the exception of jumping to perspectives, that starts to inspire a little bit of confidence that the Wardogs could be something on the horizon that could be a lot of fun to play. Now, I'm going to link the videos down in the description below if you want to check out the full-length stuff, because I know some of you are going to want to dive a little bit deeper into what we have here. I at least wanted to give some early impressions of what I saw in a condensed format. Now, I usually try to manage my expectations, but again, the 35 minutes of footage is really exciting to me. I like seeing that, and I think this is something more devs should be aware of as an option to preview the game. Just play the game. And it's nice to see that the devs are actually playing the game and diving into it here, and they seem knowledgeable over the systems that they've built and are now using. That in no way guarantees success, but I think it's going to give the community a lot of confidence. As I said, this is meant to be just a quick overview of some things I noticed and my general impressions, and I hope that you guys will let me know down in the comments what you're excited for. Check out the full-length video because I think it's worth taking a peek and seeing how these guys are playing and interacting on their battlefield. And if you are excited or interested in seeing more content around this, let me know. And of course, hit the subscribe button so you can be up to date on the next video. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can by hitting the join button to become a member here on YouTube. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.
Oh shit, he's at the stairs. Alright, I'm going. He's going up the stairs now, he's going up the stairs.